Pedro from A&P-REACTS. I'm here today with Anders Odden from Cadaver to talk about their brand new record, Edder and Bile, out November 27th on Nuclear Blast. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much.
First question I have for you is, it's been 16 years since Necrosis. What has changed for you as far as the approach of making this full-length record?
Well, many things has changed. I think my desire to make new music has not changed. So it's just an ongoing process for me. And when I realized, it's been a long time since I realized that metal is my life, and let's just do it full on, so now I'm 47, and there's no way I'm gonna do anything else but metal, I think. It seems like it.
For you, what do you consider the most challenging aspect of recording an album, specifically this one, Edder and Bile? What was the most challenging aspect for you?
The most challenging aspect for me was possibly to do everything apart from the drums. I didn't have anybody else to lean on that much. So doing all the guitars, bass, and vocals basically on every song was a big task. But I was very pumped up and hyped to do it by several occasions. But first of all, the fact that I have Dick Vedbøren on drums. So he's the reason why I put up with it, and now I'm really happy he did, because of the results. I'm very happy about the record.
I asked you about the most challenging part. So what about the most rewarding part?
Well, the most rewarding part possibly is to be able to do what I love the most, and make it happen, and see that people connect with what I'm doing when it's out there. So that's always rewarding somehow. Even when you make music, you make it for yourself and on your own. But when it's out there, it's just something about getting the response from people who understand what I'm trying to do. Of course, there's a lot of people who don't understand what you're trying to do, or don't like things, but that's how it is. I never wanted to, make this music if I wanted to be the most liked artist in the world. You don't make extreme metal, so it's all from the heart.
I think it's impossible to have everybody like something that you do. I mean, I think it all starts with you liking it, and then
Exactly.
by sequence, there's always going to be people who are going to understand your vision and understand what you're doing, and liking it. And
Yeah.
I think deep inside, you do it for yourself. But let's be honest, it's always nice when there's people out there that see the same things that you see and enjoy the same things that you do, right?
Yeah, of course. And it's always mind-boggling how many actually connect with these things, because at the end of the day, we're all humans. So, even if what you're doing is very specialized and far off for most people, it's cool to see that it connects with the kind of people it connects with. So that's very rewarding for sure.
One of the things that I noticed going through the record was the duration of the album. I mean, Necrosis was 34 minutes in length. Edder and Bile is 31 minutes in length. Is there a reason why you're compacting the record, or is just how it just ended up being that way?
Well, it's about the songwriting process. And when I wrote music for this new album, I wanted everything to have the feeling of what things were like in the late 80s somehow, without being nostalgic too much. Because when we started to make music, we never tried to make the songs as long as we possible. Sometimes we actually tried to, how can this song be longer? But it's just capturing the energy, and I think I always been really into bands with songs that aren't too long. So I mean, one of my all-time favorite records is The Rain in Blood, which is an example, So I think it just reflects how I like to write music and what I like to listen to.
I'm honestly a big fan of albums that are under the 40-minute mark, and the closer you can get them to the 30-minute mark, for me, the better you're off, because you're able to pack a much bigger punch in a short period of time.
Yeah,
And by the
that's
time
true.
and then by the time you get to the end of the record, you almost force yourself to press play again and listen to it again, because you just feel like you didn't get enough of it. So it has that ability to stay with you and allow you to go back. If the album prolongs itself for too long, you almost feel like you had to push yourself to finish that journey. So by the time you get to the end of it, you're not necessarily interested in starting that journey all over again.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Yeah.
And speaking of packing a punch, this record really packs a huge punch. I mean, from the first song to the last song, if I had to describe the album as you're drowning, there's no chance of you coming up for air at any point in time of this record. What do you attribute that to? Is there a specific element within the record that gives the album this absolute relentless feel from the first to the last song?
Well, I think that it's the style of music, first of all. If it's done right, it should have that feeling. And I think we just wanted to capture every song as fresh as possible. So, when you're over calculating anything or try to outdo yourself or any of those things, you never seem to hit the right spot. But if you're just confident that what you do is this should be like this should be like that, and then it comes through, that's the best feeling in the world, I think, because then it's not forced or anything. It's just natural.
It's more organic.
Yeah, exactly.
As I was listening to the album, I felt that I was listening to an old school Cadaver death metal record. It had like that old school feel. It doesn't feel dated necessarily. It doesn't feel like something from the vault, but it doesn't. It definitely has that old school feel. Now, I define it as old school Cadaver death metal sound. But what, in your opinion, is that? Like, if you start to break down that really broad definition, what is that old school Cadaver death metal sound?
I think it's a combination of using real drums, like you actually using what you have as a and record the drums that are there, and not sound replacing or trying to bright things up way too much. And then the other thing is, of course, the songwriting approach, which this time I learned myself how to play most of my old material to figure out to try to figure out my sound, so to speak. So when I was putting my sound into the grinder, so to speak, and figuring out what I was doing that was feeling unique, you get what you hear now. And then I really wanted it to have a forward-leaning feel as well as being the real thing. So those two combined, I guess, makes the album sound like it is.
Yeah, you touched on the drums. I felt that the drums on this record were very rich. They gave a depth of sound to the overall record, creating a very a nice foundation on which upon you can build everything else,
Mhm.
as far as the guitars, vocals, and everything that goes together. Is that how you kind of looked at it in terms of almost building blocks with the drums as that baseline, as that foundation?
Yeah, that's true. It's very hard to talk about this music without talking about the drums, because they are the um, foundation, but also some of the flair and what you really are into when you listen to it. So, if you play these songs on the guitar and vocals only, it's I don't know if anybody tried that, but when you take those drums out, it can go all kinds of directions. But the drums are for sure something which is the most important part of this kind of music, and especially this record. And without Dirk Vedbøren, it would sound so much different. So he's my X factor in making it sound as fresh as it does.
He's the Robin to your Batman.
Yeah, you can say that.
I was really happily surprised to see that you had Jeff Becerra and Cam Lee doing some guest spots on this record. What was the idea behind it? How did that idea come about?
It was two different stories. The thing with Cam was that at the time, long time ago, like 4 or 5 years ago, we had this one song sitting there called Feed the Pigs, which was the first song me and Dick wrote together. And at the time, I didn't really know what we were going to do with it, or if it was going to be, Cadaver in the old sense, or stuff like that. So I had some ideas to have guest collaborations, and then Cam got the demo and came back with his ideas the same night, I think. So it was obvious that he was going to be a part of it because his contribution worked out so well. And of course, having the first growler on the record is a contribution to the history of this music. With Jeff Becerra, the thing was that Possessed had a photo session in the very place where I was staying every night after sessions in the studio, the photo studio of Dirk's wife, Hannah. So they were having this session, and I met them when they were done, and I just talked to Jeff for the first time, and I told him how big a fan I was of Possessed and all that stuff, and that I might have a song that would fit very well with his voice. And he said, sure, I'll just record something. So that came about like on per chance. So, very happy to have both of them on the record, of course.
Is there someone that you haven't worked with on an album that you would love to have on the next Cadaver album?
Yes, there's always interesting guests. One obvious for me is Tom G. Warrior, of course. So we'll see if I can get Tom to do something that would be very, very, very cool. So we'll see.
Some musicians are not a huge fan of guest appearances on the record. They feel like they take something away from their own album. Do you feel differently about it? Do you feel like they actually add something to the record and to what the band is trying to do?
I think they add very much to something because it has a very different flavor for what I'm doing. And another thing is that younger people who get into this kind of music now and they read the history of all this music, they can connect with like this in a new way, because then they know, when they dig deeper into it, know who these people are and check out their music, and vice versa. So it's kind of helping ourselves to help the fans that is coming to the table to learn about stuff and check out more music.
Last question for you. What are your expectations for this record? Once again, coming out November 27th on Nuclear Blast.
Well, I was going to say, I hope to see people out on the road too, but eventually. But for the record, I really hope that everybody who should listen to it and should get into it get a chance to do so. And I'm really happy to say that we're already working on a new album. So hopefully something will come, later with more music as well from Cadaver. This is not the end. This is just the beginning.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's not going to take another 16 years for the next album to come out.
No, not this time. It's already in the works. Yeah.
That's a great thing. Well, Anders, thank you very much for your time today. I really appreciate it. best of luck with Edder and Bile out November 27th on Nuclear Blast. It's a great record, and if you're a fan of the genre, it's definitely a must pick up. It'll definitely brighten up 2020. It's been a shit show, so you need all the help you can get to make the drive through this year as pleasant as possible.
Well, thank you very much, Pedro, and I hope that one day we can see each other and have one beer and laugh about this.
Yeah, I really hope so too. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys play these songs live. I really enjoy this record. So once again, best of luck. Stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Bye-bye.